Hi everyone, good morning and welcome to today's morning report on Monday the 7th of September with me, Richard Perry, market analyst at Antec Markets. European trading session has got off to a decent start really, slightly higher at the open, not too much going on in terms of market movements. They're fairly steady actually, and had a slight rebound overnight. The Chinese markets came back online after a couple of days of public holiday, and there was no real selling pressure coming through. So the Asian session was fairly settled actually. Gave us a decent handover of 0.4% on the Nikkei, and that's sort of pretty much come through to where we are sitting on the FTSE and the DAX at the moment, around about 0.5% higher on both. In terms of economic data and news, there's no economic data of driving note anyway today. You've also got US Labour Day, public holiday, so it could be one of the reasons why we're seeing slightly sort of settled market views today. But if you look at, say, for example, the dollar, there's not a huge amount of movement on this dollar yet today. As I said, we've got US public holiday, so that's certainly taken a large portion of volume out of the market anyway. So that's probably driving that situation. And also we've got fairly stable, although slightly lower commodity prices, but they're still fairly stable. I think very slight weakness across gold and silver as well, and I'll talk about silver in my chart of the day in a minute. But it certainly looks like the markets, as we look at them, are fairly settled and not really too much happening. In terms of metals prices, the copper price has found a bit of support overnight. And that's on report that Glencore has announced plans to suspend copper production at a couple of mines in Africa, and that's helping to support copper price, but also the Aussie as well is benefiting from that. But in terms of the actual driving forces today, we're fairly settled at the moment. So let me just go on now to my chart of the day, which is silver. Now the silver price has had this. If I zoom out here, we can see the fact that it's been fairly consistently negative, and you'd be using any sort of rallies in the silver price as a chance to sell over the last few months. Really, look at that old floor at 1550 that I've spoken about previously. That came in as resistance, and that again was the level at which silver started to fall away at the end of August. We've had a slight rebound following on from that move to 1393, and that rebound has again started to sort of find resistance. There's a slight old pivot level around $15, and the rebound high at 1495 sort of fell over at that stage, and it certainly looks like it's rolling over these momentum indicators. Certainly reasonably, I mean they're sort of on the bearish side of neutral really. They're not sort of bearishly configured in any serious way, but I would say that it's on the sort of negative side of being neutral. But certainly you would argue that it's still looking at selling into strength here. The 21-day moving average, which has been a very good basis of resistance through June and July, became supportive briefly, but again it's become the base of resistance, so that's turning over. That's at 1491. So you'd say that any sort of rallies do still look to be a chance to sell. Here we have the hourly chart. It's not done a huge amount in the last few days, but it certainly looks as though it could be just rolling over these momentum indicators, sort of putting pressure arguably back towards the downside. The hourly MACD lines are below neutral again. Stochastics falling away, and it just has this sort of slight air of sort of negativity, but without any major selling pressure. Now, in terms of where you'd be going with this, I'd say that your initial support band, where you'd sort of class it, I suppose, between these, if I can get the crosshair on it, 1435 up to 1440. It's a pretty decent band of support, so if you started to lose that, I think you'd be certainly correcting back towards these lows again. Then you'd be sort of looking out for the 1410 mark, and that obviously that reaction low at 1393. But it certainly looks, as I said, as though it's this sort of rebound that we've had in the last sort of couple of weeks is just rolling over and starting to lose the upside, and that is being reflected in these near-term momentum indicators. So little jumps on an intraday basis may be a chance to sell. You've got the initial resistance from today's high again 1466, and that comes in under 1480, which again 1480 has fairly been consistent in terms of the last 3-4 days as a line of resistance. So that is sort of gives you a couple of levels to work with in terms of if you got an intraday rally, but certainly it looks like, I mean, you're 10 pips down on the day, or 10 ticks down on the day. So it is seemingly in a more negative outlook, I think, on a consistent basis now, and I think it could well be growing for a retest of these lows, 1393. And it looks like that's how it's going to be sort of moving out towards. So I wish you good luck in your trading on the silver price today, and I will speak to you later. Thank you.